What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Kid Taj. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and idea down below. Subscribe if you're new. I have a gaming channel, links in the description for that. But I want to get right into this video. And over the last few days, we spent a lot of time talking about the Eastern Conference. You know, about powerhouse teams in the East. We were talking about the Raptors yesterday, how they could get all the way to the NBA Finals, or if they could. So I didn't say that they would do it. I, addressed the possibility of them being an NBA Finals team within the next 2 to 3 years. That video was posted yesterday. Go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. And, I've been talking about the Cavs quite a bit and how, they're the dominant force in the East. And, is there ever going to be a time where a team upsets them? And, that really stems from the fact that when you take a look at the NBA standings, Eastern and Western Conference standings, that the Western Conference is just so much more stacked than the East. And, we talk a lot about how you can't take a lot of these teams in the East seriously because they're just not as good. A 4th seed Eastern Conference team is not even close to the same as a 4th seed Western Conference team. In fact, the 7 out of the 9 top teams by record in the NBA right now are in the Western Conference, and the top 2 teams are in the Western Conference as well. The best teams are just in the West, and the only teams that would be contending for, a playoff spot really in the Western Conference that are in the Eastern Conference would be the Cavs and the Raptors, and everybody else would be like a 7 or 8 seed in the Western Conference. That's 3 and below, and it goes down a lot more. But today we're going to be talking about one of those teams, and that's one of the teams that I actually endorsed for the 2nd seed before the season started. I thought the Boston Celtics had enough talent, enough young players paired with veteran guys that could lead this team a long way, and I actually had them being the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference to end the season. Now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen, at least right now. The Celtics have been on a tear, which is something that I'm going to address in a little bit. But when you think about it, the Boston Celtics are, pretty far behind the Raptors. They haven't been playing the same consistent basketball as the Toronto Raptors. And, just by looking at how they play night in, night out, they're not consistent enough to be that 2nd seed team, and the Raptors definitely are. However, they've been playing very well lately, and, if they weren't so far behind, there could definitely be a possibility of catching up to the Raptors, sooner rather than later. And obviously, it's still possible for them to take that 2nd seed or even the 1st seed, which I highly doubt is going to happen. But, it's a long way away from what they're at now because they're still a few games behind the Raptors, and I don't see the Raptors falling off anytime soon, especially with how they're rolling right now. Now, we are talking about the Celtics today, and specifically Isaiah Thomas. I want to know why so many times before this season, during the season, I have heard the same thing about the Boston Celtics. They're a great, well-rounded team that can defend well, but what they lack is a superstar. Guys, or a star, for that matter. I've heard people say they are lacking a star. You need a star to win a playoff series, and the Celtics are one of those teams with no clear star. They're like the Pistons in 2004. I hear this so much. It's actually ridiculous how much when people talk about the Celtics, they mention how they don't have a star player. I've heard this a million times because Al Horford was a very productive player. People don't consider him a superstar or star, at least this year. I heard people talking about him being a star, and I actually thought he was a star in Atlanta. So for some of the time there, I did think that he was a star player at some point. But I guess this year people aren't saying he's a star in the Celtics. I guess when you think of a star, you think of your LeBrons, your Durants, your Hardens, or, even to a lesser degree. So maybe your guys like Paul George or Jimmy Butler, or guys that lead a team that do a lot of things in a lot of different areas, Giannis. But people never talk about Isaiah Thomas as a star. I don't get it. I honestly can't understand, especially, when you look at what he's been doing over the past week. He's probably going to win Player of the Week if he didn't, because he's been playing absolutely fantastic basketball. But I don't get it. It literally doesn't add up in my mind. People talk about, the Celtics, they need to trade for Boogie or Paul George or Gordon Hayward or Jimmy Butler so they can have a superstar player on their team or something like that. It doesn't make any sense to me because, I guess I get it. You want to get a guy like DeMarcus Cousins because then you can have, more great talent that wants to win now and help your team concept. Right, I understand that. But you already have a superstar or at least a star. The way he's playing right now, he's been absolutely incredible, and I can't wrap my head around it. Maybe, because he's not the strongest defensive player, but he does so many things on offense well. I mean, you look at what he does. He's averaging 27 points, 6 assists. He's shooting 44% from the field and 35% from 3 and almost 90% from the free throw line. This is a 5'9" guy. I don't think people realize, once we saw Isaiah Thomas was playing at a super high level, people stopped really thinking about, what I'm trying to say is that after he became big, for the first week or month, we were thinking, wow, it's crazy, this guy's so good, because he's 5'9". And I know that he was actually averaging like 20 points a game in Sacramento, and no one cared because it was Sacramento. He goes to Boston after he stays in Phoenix for a little bit, and then he starts playing amazing in the 15-16 year, and he gets selected to the All-Star team, and everyone's like, this guy's 5'9". I don't think anyone really cares that he's 5'9 anymore. We're already used to the fact, but I believe that night in, night out, watching this guy play, that it's amazing. I will never look at Isaiah Thomas play and not just marvel at the fact that he's 5'9" and he's doing things better than most players in the NBA, where the average height is 6'7", and he's being towered over by centers that are bigger than 7 feet tall, but he doesn't have a problem with it because he can still get up and finish over him. That's just mind-boggling to me. But also the fact that he only commits 2 turnovers a game. That's absolutely amazing. If you average 27 points and 6 assists as a 5'9" guy, you'd expect a lot of turnovers because he's putting in so much work. He's 5'9", so it's probably harder for him to pass over people. I mean, I guess you're not going to get ripped up as much because you're smaller. It's hard for guys to get down and reach the ball and poke it out. But if you're smaller, it's probably harder for you to make passes, just a little bit. But Isaiah Thomas is one of the better passers at the point guard spot in the NBA. He's one of the best. In fact, this guy can make just the most ridiculous passes you've seen. He's a pick and roll monster. He attacks the basket recklessly like no one else that size. He's kind of like Allen Iverson, and there was actually like a connection between them, a Twitter thing. Maybe it wasn't Twitter, but Isaiah Thomas talking about how he's modeling his game after Allen Iverson, or he hopes he's watching or some shit like that. And Allen Iverson's like, yeah, I'm watching. Keep doing what you're doing, something like that. Is that, I don't know the exact specifics, but that's basically what it was. And he does remind me a lot about Allen Iverson because he's so small, but he can get inside amongst the trees and finish over people like no one else. It's quite incredible. And the fact that he's averaging 27.6 assists and now leading his team. I mean, he's had so many great games in a row this week. He's just been on fire. I don't get how he's not a star. Someone please let me know in the comments how this guy's not a star. It doesn't make any sense. I don't want to hear that ever again. I know I'm going to at some point. It's going to make me mad, but I don't want to hear anybody tell me that the Celtics need a superstar or star player. They don't have any star players like that. They're like the 04 Pistons. Isaiah Thomas is right there. No one's paying attention to what he's doing. I think it's bad. I think that he's underrated vastly for what he does, what he's been doing. And the Celtics have been playing better. They've been winning games. They've been on a tear. They've been finding their identity to a certain extent. I think that's really good for the team, and Isaiah Thomas has been right at the middle of that. Again, I don't know how he's not a star, but that's basically my thoughts on him. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm out. Thanks for watching, y'all. Peace.